Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Violet and this is Violet Tries Panning. We're going to be doing my very first eyeshadow palette collection. These are where I keep my palettes. I used to keep them in a drawer on the sides of on the sides of me in my vanity, but I hated bending over and I hated having these kind of sit on top of each other like so. So I'd have to pick up this whole stack to get to the bottom palette that I wanted. Previous way that I had it, this is actually my third way of holding these. I literally had them just stacked up against here, only held by a little decoration in the back, and I broke two palettes that way. Luckily they were saved. Then it came to the idea of these baskets I always hoard on the side of my vanity for whatever purpose, and that's how these kind of little ideas. So I'm going to be starting off with these palettes here, the ones I picked up on the side, because these are all of the upcoming palettes that I plan to focus on for my 4 looks one palette series on my makeup Instagram. ColourPop Yes Please palette. It's your typical warm tone palette. This is a really good palette. I do really love Buttercake. For some reason that one kind of broke too, but this is a really good staple palette in my opinion that really works for all seasons. Next palette is the Makeup Revolution, and this is the Reloaded Division palette. It's a dupe for the ABH, what is it, off the top of my head, I can see it, Subculture palette. Both at the time. I gave the original Subculture to my sister, and looking back I kind of wish I didn't and decluttered this one, because I don't know, I'm tempted to declutter this one because I just honestly much prefer the Subculture formula better than Revolution quality. I still get some pretty good looks out of this. I don't have any trouble except for the couple of shimmers. Constantly receiving hard pan. I think this one's kind of receiving hard pan, and I didn't find that with the original, but this is beautiful for fall. I love this color story. Next one is, of course, another warm tone, the Rimmel Magnified Spice Edition. This one is supposed to be a dupe for the Urban Decay Naked Heat. I love these like rich like red coppery tones. Y'all know I love my orange tones, and I just think that this fun little like purple and deepening colors are a nice little touch in here. This is my LA Girl shade shifter. This is beautiful. I can't remember. This is a shade called Sunset. This shade is absolutely stunning. I love the shift of green to red to orange. Like, to me, that is fall colors. When the leaves change, this is the like perfect fall shade. And my Delanci Dreamland Impression eyeshadows did receive these as gifts. One is shade 18, and it's more of like a disco glitter. It is so beautiful, but it definitely has that like gritty texture. The other one that I own is the shade 19, and this one is a really deep royal elegant purple that has like some shifts in here of like green, a little bit of gold. It is beautiful. My last single eyeshadow is actually from Temu. This one is supposed to be I believe a dupe for another, I think it's like a Chinese brand or it's an Asian brand called Juicy or something like that. This one's really pretty. I don't have any issues with this. It shows up. It's a nice like little topper, and it's a very like cool tony sort of like silvery color. I absolutely love it and enjoy using it every single time. This is the e.l.f. Bite-Sized Eyeshadow Quad in Hot Jalapeno. But the beautiful, my two favorite shades are the shimmers, of course, but such a good one. I love greens and I absolutely love the name. This one is called Pumpkin Pie. This palette, this is the one that kind of broke when I had it just kind of standing up on my vanity willy-nilly, not really in baskets, and it took casualties. You can see we took a chunk off of eyeshadow there. We were missing some here, but it's still good. I'm not going to open it because there is still some eyeshadow fallout that I need to kind of go in and repress and fix again, but I decluttered this after using it once because I hated all brown shades, and then a couple months ago something in me was like, pull it back out, give it another try. Maybe it was just the eye primer I was using, the techniques I didn't know, and now I love it and I truly enjoy this one. So here is a glitter eyeshadow. This one's from Profusion. It's like a black sparkly. I do have to probably rehydrate this because it is drying on me. I do want to keep this. I just don't use it often. Next palette is one I picked up for my full face of Temu makeup. This is the Sweet Mint palette. This one is such a beautiful palette. I think This palette really shines in its like glitter, shimmer formulas here. Very subdued sort of peach palette. These look very dark, but they don't really appear that way. It's very soft, very like no makeup type of palette. Really good quality, and I know some people don't want to buy from Temu, but I don't have a problem. Just always patch tested, of course. Next palette is from Shop Miss A. This is the Amuse Cosmetics brand. It's a 10-pan palette. Another one that I just really loved, and I had to have after seeing so many people on YouTube haul this and put this in their full face of Shop Miss A look videos. Shimmers are really good, mattes are really good. This creates like very easy, more on the subdued, cooler toned eye looks. They're not really warm as they appear in the palette. But pulling in from the front is my Wet n Wild Rosé in the Air palette that I still holding on to. I hate looking at this. I get so bored because this reminds me of the very beginning of when I first started watching YouTube. This was literally every color story around. This was every eye look, and I'm tired of seeing browns and oranges and like a pop of pink or purple in palettes. I'm absolutely sick of seeing it. I don't use this. I'm tempted to declutter, but I kind of want to use it just to see where I stand with it, if I truly want to keep it by giving another shot, or if that second shot means completely declutter. Next palette is my BYS Peach palette. I believe this one is supposed to dupe a Too Faced one or be like something similar to it when the whole peach trend was a thing. This is a good palette. I think that there's nothing wrong with this. The only issue I have is that there is only 3 mattes in here, with this one, and this one, and for me to create like more cohesive, more fun looks and actually want to use a palette, I need more mattes. I do use shimmers more and just in a more different capacity than I used to. I was so intimidated of using shimmers all over the lids, shimmers in the crease, and now I'm like, I don't care. Use the eyeshadow, play with it, see what it brings me. And so yeah, I just think that also peaches are very lacking in my collection, which is another reason I keep this. Next one is my Bright Lights from Pinky Rose Cosmetics. This one is good. I love this one. I think that I'm definitely adding to my collection with a lot of these brighter, sort of more vibrant tones. I do like the glitters in here, as even though I don't use them too much, but I just like to dip into these for maybe a pop of yellow, a pop of green, or create like cohesive looks with this palette to just have fun with color. And this was also a gift from Brandy, so this one's also just very sentimental to me. Next up is a Kara Beauty palette called Wildflower. This is part of their botanical collection. I actually picked this up from one of the department stores for like extremely cheap, and I had to grab this one because of the oranges. I'm a sucker for oranges, but I think that this palette is beautiful. I think that some of these orange tones I don't really have in my collection. I also don't have a lot of these like shimmers in here, or these shades of shimmer. Next palette is the other Kara Beauty With You. This is the second one from their Botanicals collection. For some reason I was gravitating towards the neutrals and the browns, but really I love the 2 shimmer shades in here. I love that pop of like white as like an inner corner, and surprisingly I really do enjoy this palette. I had it for one of my No Pan Left Behind prompts from a deck of panning, and I enjoyed this palette. Who am I? I am very much changing, but I just think that these palettes are just really good. Next palette in my collection is my newest one. I really want to try more from this brand. This palette, it is beautiful. I will say some of the mattes definitely need a lot of help packing on. Some of the shimmers need a little bit more help, but overall this is a beautiful palette. I love the color story. For me, this is very like fall with some fun, like just the uniqueness to it. I don't know, I'm just very drawn to this. Could I have duped it? Absolutely. But next palette in here is from the Jaclyn Hill Vault collection. Yeah, these, nothing wrong with them. I don't want to get rid of them because of how much I spent for the entire collection to get the box and to get all the palettes on launch day. And I also think that one day I will be missing this palette. I will be, you know, looking back on it and say, oh, I should have not decluttered it for that shade or for that shade, but I still enjoy these from time to time, so from now I will keep them. And of course the other palette, this one is called Ring the Alarm. The orange with the reds and a little bit of pops of gold. What did we expect from me, right? Nothing different. But yeah, I still enjoy this palette. I still think the shades in here are beautiful. I still think that the looks I created were beautiful, and they did offer, you know, some variation, even though some of these are kind of similar. Yeah, I think my standout shade here is this one I used, is the Delanci Olive Earth. I did receive this. It was gifted to me by the company. This palette, it is beautiful. If you love greens, highly recommend checking out this palette. All of these shimmers are stunning. All of the mattes definitely show up with a variation. Like, that is the color you will get. That is the color you'll get on the eyes. This is the color. Like, there's so much depth, so much difference, so much uniqueness in here. And all of this palette just sort of makes sense. This is from a brand called Beauty Icon. I'm not too sure, I'm not too familiar with it. It's very pretty. It is good quality. And I don't have any sort of tones like this in my collection already. I don't really have like gunmetal, cool tone grays, or like cool tone golds. So this definitely offers some variation and uniqueness in my collection. But this is the palette from Synopsis from my $20 makeup challenge. This is the Southern Charm in Porch Swing. I'm not going to open it because obviously I still have some fallout and some cleaning to do that I attempted to get out the first time, but I didn't. But yeah, like, this is a beautiful palette. Great one and done shadows. I love the shade on its own too, and I really enjoy that. It's good quality. We also have another glitter shadow. This is my favorite out of the two. This is the CoverGirl Exhibitionist one, and this one is the number 2 one. I think it's called Love at First Sight. I'm not sure if they still make this, but this is a beautiful, like, neutral gold glitter that adds just that extra sparkle on a look that I love so much. Here are my LA Colors quads. These are all very good ones as like on their own, put together with the other ones, or combined with other shadows in my collection, but they're all like very basic. This one's the Bare one, so just neutrals, pretty shimmer shades. This one's my favorite. And we have Heat, which obviously offers more warmness and toastiness with the oranges, but still really good. The last one is the more rosy tone, hence the name called Rose. And this one also offers just like beautiful, just beautiful eye looks out of it too. I definitely enjoy using this one a lot too. Surprisingly, I didn't think I would. My Blue Moon palette, which is my favorite blue palette ever, and that doesn't say much because this is my only like monochromatic blue palette, but this is what it looks like. I love this. I use it honestly so much because of how rich all of these tones are, how everything goes together. I'm definitely hitting like a dip in this one, maybe hitting pan. They say ColourPop shadows take a long time to hit pan, but I have taken a big dip because I love using this as like a one and done eyeshadow. Absolutely gorgeous, good quality palette. Next one is another ColourPop. This is their High Tide palette. This is the monochromatic teal palette they came out with. I do have a video showing 3 looks on it from a couple years ago, as well as comparing it to other like teal blue, green blue shades in my collection to seeing if there was any sort of overlap with this. I did also try and label all of these magnetic pans underneath, so this one did take quite a hit. It's a casualty in there, which is why it's so dirty there, but love this palette. I don't have teals in my collection, and every single one of these shades definitely use a lot. Next one is the It's My Pleasure palette. Probably my favorite out of all of my monochromatic ones, just because I love purples. Purple eyeshadow, purple anything is just gorgeous. And this entire palette, every single time I create an eye look, it's different and it's gorgeous, and I just fall in love with this palette every single time. So definitely just like a very all-around good palette for purples, with offers some cool tones, warm tones, neutrals, one and dones, versatility. You got it. The Just My Look palette. This palette is beautiful. All of the colors work together. Somehow they just all unite and create such different eye looks that are beautiful, wearable, and you know, they do offer like the neutral brown here too. This one's like a green leaning brown, which is amazing. It's beautiful. I don't know how I fell in love with that one, or why I did, because it's literally a green brown, but I did. The next one is the Meant to Be palette. Also is another such a good one, all around monochromatic mint one. You can create more subdued, deeper tone looks. You can create very bold, vibrant ones. These shades don't look like much, but on the eyes, they pop so much. The shimmers are so pigmented, and this definitely adds to my collection and I just always love using this palette. Continuing on with my ColourPop collection, this is the Dream Street palette, which is Kathleen Light's very first collab. But this is still performs so beautifully. I still have no issues with it. All of the shimmers show up. This palette offers so much range that you would never think, given of how just like it looks like every other palette on the market back then, and even now, just kind of done differently. But this palette I absolutely love. I don't show it enough love, which I need to, but it's so good and definitely just like one of my favorites in my collection. Last ColourPop palette, I swear. I have quite a few ColourPop, but this is the Sweet Talk palette. Beautiful artwork on top, beautiful design. I love that, like, it offers so much, like, it brings happiness every time you use it. But this is the sort of corally palette with some browns, some neutrals, some glitters, some shimmers. It's just beautiful. This very much can be worn spring, summer, and into fall. I have managed to make it work for fall, and this palette is just beautiful. I love using it. And this is my other Delanci palette that I received for free. This is their Panda palette, and it's the smoky gray with like 2 pops of white and then the blacks to deepen everything out. This palette is good. I don't typically wear these type of tones on the daily. These are more like playtime, sort of, if I want to experiment a little bit more. But this will definitely get used more around Halloween. Overall, this is a good palette. The issue with this one is that these 3 shimmers all kind of appear the same. I don't really find that we needed 2 sort of black shades. This is more of like a sequin shade with a little bit of glitter, but it doesn't show up. The glitter doesn't show up in the eyeshadow. The BH Passion in Paris palette was actually my introduction to BH Cosmetics. Once I tried this, I fell in love with the formula. I fell in love with the color stories and just everything about BH. I love. And then a couple months later, it was bought out by Makeup Revolution, and I regret not buying more of their palettes. But I'm glad for the 2 that I have. I am hoping to maybe get some other ones secondhand, but just the quality of these shimmers are next level for like drugstore brand. They are so vibrant. They show up so beautiful. Every single look I did with this was a favorite. I love the versatility in here. I love the cool toneness. And this is definitely perfect for the winter months coming up. Next palette is the newer one in my collection, Cosmic Brushes, or Cosmic Beauty now. And this is their most highly like sought out palette. The Serenity palette is probably my favorite this year. This one I always pull out. I have tried to find excuses to use it. I try and find ways to use it, incorporate a lot of these shades into my looks. I love how you can go playful with this. You can keep it kind of soft and everyday. You can have pops of color. You can have monochromatic looks. You can have one and done shadows. This is like absolutely such great quality, and I absolutely love using this palette. And this is the Profusion Festival palette. This one I went on a long journey just to grab because I was so in love with all the colors. It definitely added a lot of value to my collection, having all of these like colorful shimmers, having some of the oranges, purples, pinks that I didn't really have at the time. And I used it back then. I liked it, but then sometimes I didn't care for it, so it just sat in the back of the drawer, kind of neglected, maybe grabbed a shade or 2. And then this year I pulled it back out and I played with it again. I fixed the hard pan on all of the shimmer shadows, some of the matte ones, and I love this palette again. I enjoyed using it, and I'm not decluttering it. Next palette is the Makeup Revolution in collaboration with Emily Noel here on YouTube for the Wants palette. See, it just speaks to me. All of the colors, all of the prettiness to it, all of the looks that she managed to create out of this, and all the other looks that others were able to create. I just was so drawn to it. It is a bulky palette, which is kind of a little annoying to hold and use, but it's so good. Second to last palette is the Jaclyn Hill and Morphe palette, the first one that she ever created with Morphe. It's a warm tone palette with some pops of color. Nothing really extravagant or amazing about this palette, but I think that this palette stays in my collection because it has such a range of tones. It's like in a gradual manner. So it starts off kind of neutral, and then you can deepen things up, and then even more deepen things up. So it kind of adds those extra shades that I may be needing in a look. and some fun pops of colors and just all sorts of ways that you can go with this palette. And I love this palette. I got it for my birthday one year, and I absolutely loved it. And the last palette in my collection, I don't know what it is, why it had such a hold on me, but this came out, I saw reviews, I saw tutorials, and I was like, oh, I don't need another palette. I absolutely do not need another like colorful palette. I don't need any of these shimmers in here. I don't need any of these mattes in here. I just plain point blank do not need it. That following year, like, it's a limited edition, so the next year they came out with a Mrs. Claus or something like that palette, and I just kept thinking about this palette. I said, I really want that. I have to have it. Someone was selling this on Reddit for like 15 bucks or maybe less. Snagged it. I said, okay, I have to have it. It is mine, and I don't regret it. I think this is probably one of my other favorite palettes that I enjoy. Like, even though there is neutrals, but there's so much color, so much depth, so much uniqueness in here. I also just love that it is Christmas themed, because Christmas is my favorite time of year, and this just kind of emulates Christmas in a palette, and I just love displaying this too. So, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of this video. I apologize for it being a little bit longer than my typical videos, but I just wanted y'all to kind of see a more in-depth look. Since I don't really talk about my palettes, I mainly use them on my Instagram or showcase them like every so often here on the channel. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day and or week, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.